welcome to the Robbies Podcast, your destination for in-depth discussion and analysis of the Premier League. I'm Robbie Mustoe, he's Robbie Earle, and here are today's topics. Arsenal see 3 points slip from their grasp after letting in 2 late goals against Aston Villa, making their charge for the title more complicated. Tottenham suffer an embarrassing 3-2 defeat at Everton that leaves Ange Postecoglu in a precarious position as Spurs manager. Bournemouth find their top form by scoring 4 goals at Newcastle, who had won 9 games on the spin entering the weekend, and we'll react to interesting comments from Manchester United manager Ruben Amorim after their loss to Brighton. That's what we have coming up in today's episode.
All right, mate, just before we get to the football, just a moment of reflection, really. Football's lost one of its great. Dennis Law, a footballing legend, played for both Manchester United and Manchester City, loved by the red and the blue half of Manchester. 237 goals in 4 appearances for Manchester United. I mean, an incredible record in domestic football and international football for Scotland. A Ballon d'Or winner back in the day. There was an outpouring of real emotion this weekend at every ground where there was a minute silence. Just explain, Rob, to some of our viewers what Dennis Law stood for.
Well, I think it was just supreme goal scorer in a very slight frame. Very, not a big, powerful guy, super skillful, super tricky, scored all different types of goals. And, of course, he made up that 3. The
Holy Trinity.
Holy Trinity at Manchester United with George Best, legendary George Best, of course, to Bobby Charlton and Dennis Law. And there's a statue of the 3 of them, isn't there, outside of Old Trafford.
He actually has 2 statues,
he has another statue,
which is incredible. I mean, you've got to be some player to get 2.
I mean, this is the 60s. Manchester United were phenomenal. And just quickly on, the 3 players, they all won.
Forwards,
those 3 players won Ballon d'Ors.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be pretty. I mean,
has
it ever happened before where in the same kind of era, each part of a team, 3 parts of the team get a Ballon d'Or?
We'd have is Real Madrid, maybe, or Barcelona.
Yeah.
I mean,
and also the stories that came out on Friday. I listened to the afternoon, listened to the UK radio, and so many people phoned in and said, I met him outside Old Trafford. He spent 10 minutes chatting with us. I think one guy said he took me and my family outside, bought us an ice cream afterwards. And we also forgot to mention today, as a little bit, Robbie, he raised a lot of money for charity.
Charities,
So it's a sad day. I thought it was powerful today at Old Trafford
really
when Sir Alex Ferguson comes out on that pitch, and it was deadly quiet. It was just
immaculate, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was immaculate and very powerful.
He was deserving of the guy. I mean, unfortunately, I met him a few times. He was working in the media. I lived in the northwest area. Lovely man, always a smile on his face, always chirpy.
Yeah.
And legendary football. You can't even go to talk about the football. But the thing that I said on the show today, and the thing that stood out to me, is that there's a few players, Rob, in football history when you're back in England, living in Britain, and they almost transcend the team. They belong to the nation. They're not just Manchester United or Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool. So Bobby Charlton's one. So Bobby Moore would be another. George Best.
Yeah.
Dennis Law,
these are sporting legends, not just football legends.
And Dennis Law would be in that very exclusive band. That's the appeal that he had. So, rest in peace,
exactly.
Dennis. And the whole Holy Trinity is back up there. And you wouldn't want to play them 3-on-3.
No, you wouldn't.
Okay, let's get to the football, my friend. It was a huge weekend of football. Some incredible stories that we'll try and get across. Maybe this podcast will be a little bit more story-based than maybe detail and football-based. But let's start at the Emirates. Arsenal. Chance to close the gap possibly on Liverpool. Arsenal go 2-0 up in the game, goals through Martinelli and Havertz, and then allow Aston Villa to get back into the game. Tielemans with a header. Watkins was allowed a shot inside the 6-yard box. It ends up 2-2. It's 2 points dropped. It was... You could see and feel what result meant to the Gunners. It was a great shot, wasn't there? We saw of one of the fans who was just sitting in the stand, didn't want to leave, just couldn't get it out of his head that the team had got 2-0 up. Yeah. How big a weekend was this, Rob? How much should we read into dropping of 2 points? It wasn't a defeat.
It wasn't a defeat, but I think maybe both of us, Rob, just felt like, God, this is another very big game after the midweek game against Spurs, where they win the game 2-1. it's an emotional victory. You're asking them to go again. They had the addition of William Saliba.
Correct.
And they've having to plug different parts of the team.
Yeah, 3 different players really.
Yeah, and just attacking wise, first of all, by the way, they kind of got the job done.
Yeah,
they got the job done. Aston Villa are a really good side. I thought Martinelli stepped up on one flank. Yeah. Leandro Trossard's one of his best games. I thought for Arsenal on the other side, a little bit different. He went down the byline a couple of times, crossed balls in really, really well, and they scored the 2 goals. Yeah. And if any team in the Premier League right now, even though they had Saliba out, you'd still expect them to find a way to hold on and win that game. Yet that change at centre-back did mean other people played in different spots. Yeah. And the goals that were conceded were just 2 Arsenal players switching off at key moments, not seeing out runs, which they should. It kind of really is the basics, which cost them. Is that too simple?
No, I actually, when you were saying, and even... I get the point that Saliba's there, or I get the point that people have moved positions. But let me go back to Thomas Partey is a defensive midfield player who's built a career. He was at Atletico Madrid in a Simeone team, where he knows the responsibility, Rob, of marking somebody in the box at that late in the game. I can't give him an out. Mikel Moreno is running level with Tielemans.
He was goal side.
He was goal side, and he allowed him to get the other side. That is the detail. That is the bit. And Mikel Arteta said after, it's really difficult for him because those 2 errors have changed the way people will pursue the game. Be honest, Rob, for 60 minutes they dominated. Their football was excellent and they got the 2 goals. So I can't give outs on that detail. Those are the things that... And listen, we've all been players, Rob, and sometimes you think, well, how harsh am I being? Of course, these times I've been in the box and the guy I've been marking. If I'm goal side of somebody, I don't care how tired I am, I'm staying goal side. Now, if they beat me in the air or we challenge and do something else, I put my hands up and I wasn't right. But if I'm goal side, mate, honestly, I can never remember saying I'm going to allow somebody to get the other side.
But the first one's interesting because if I'm Mikel Moreno, right, and this is not right, he might be thinking, as Tielemans, how often does he score?
Yeah, he's not.
What's the chance of him? Yeah. And yet... It's just the ball
you have
is a
to have in your head
spot.
every time that he can score.
Right, because I'm telling you now, if that play happens 20 more times with a cross to come in, different player, he probably doesn't get that ball right at the moment. He scoops and heads it in and he gets caught out. It's just, you can't take that risk that 1 in 20 he's going to get it. So it's so frustrating for the Arsenal fans because I thought, and I know what Arteta's saying afterwards, it was a magnificent effort and, it was a colossal, immense performance, I think was the word that he used. And it was to a certain degree, but it's not if 2 of your players don't do kind of the basics. Just moving on real quick with this, I drove home from the studio yesterday and listened to the UK phone-in. There's many people out there that are questioning Mikel Arteta, Rob. It's astonishing to me, but there are. There's many people saying, is it the time where Arsenal needs somebody...
That's a current vogue, Rob, to be honest. It's a new thing, if somebody does, let's go on this manager, let's go on this manager. I mean, who'd you get? Let's just go, who'd you get? Who comes in and improves this?
No, he's getting a very big effort out of this team and squad, and he's doing his best to try and make decisions. I think the more of a concerning thing is when we look at the benches, and we saw what Villa could go to, and Arsenal, and I know they got injuries, and goodness, I mean, I don't know how many times we've mentioned the word injuries so far this season, but is it the time where Arsenal have got to say, okay, I know we've spent in the past, but we need some help.
Yeah, and we have to be serious now. If we're going to get over this hump, if we can play and do all the things, they're like 75-80%, Rob, of where they need to be. There's another 10 to 15% that can come through resting the odd players. Saka's been out and is a huge loss, but Saka was being overplayed. In some respects, he was being overplayed. Yeah. You need to be able to put, Gabriel Jesus has got injured now, and that's another loss from the front line. But, we need more players. Raheem Sterling's not worked. Raheem Sterling was somebody to come in for certain games when you can rest a Saka or Martinelli. It hasn't worked. So they've got to almost go, okay, we've got this level. How do we go the next step up and buy 3 players, Rob, who go into their first team and can hold their own?
Yeah, I think Aston Villa... they had Daniel Malin on the bench.
Malin, who they've just signed.
They spent some decent money on him.
on the bench.
Yeah.
They've got Buendia
Buendia's
on the bench.
Yeah, John Duran, of course.
John Duran can come off. I mean, that's 4 players who can affect the game for you, mate.
I mean, I'm not sure we're at that point yet. Well, we're not at that point yet. But Aston Villa, they're going places.
Yeah, there'll be a Villa podcast to come at some point.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they've got a lot of good things in place from the director of football to the manager. Of course, they've worked together before. You've got an ownership that's very, very ambitious.
They produce their own as well,
and they're not afraid to spend some money. And they're active already in January. And I know it's not easy, Arsenal and Arsenal fans to add to this squad because Mikel Arteta want to add and improve the starting 11, and it's not easy. But they've got to find a way. And there's talk about, just on rumours and stuff, Johan Wissa from Brentford. It wouldn't be big money. And he knows what he's doing. I really like him. He's not a superstar for them, but
I thought the other one you mentioned today, we were in Parks, and we saw João Pedro.
João Pedro at Brighton.
Can play a number of spots, right, left, central, young, still good age.
He's got that Arsenal flair.
He can play a bit.
We used to see him playing against those guys that have got a little bit about him. So that's very different to Kai Havertz, for example. Yeah. Now, I don't know what the number would be for him. Be quite a big number.
Big number, 70.
But he's done really well for Brighton, and he's really good on the ball. I don't know whether Arsenal don't think those two would be good enough to be better than what they've already got.
Well,
I don't know.
I look at it. It feels like a Diogo Jota type, where you go, he's not much.
Exactly.
And then they come in, and you go, wow,
I know.
Wow, go up, step up with
good
better
shout.
players
From Wolves,
around
and
them.
you wouldn't know, and all of a sudden
it doesn't always have to be that big name, because sometimes that doesn't work. We've seen that doesn't always work. So. And I think you've done it, Rob, but also a bit of credit for Villa. 2-0 down, away from home at Arsenal, team flying well. You made a change at half-time, which I thought was really... I kind of watched the game and saw Maatsen, who came in at left-back, got booked, was having a bit of a time of it.
He was having a time
Threw
of it,
on Digne. Digne's crosses for the goal for Tielemans. And smart manager, Rob, stayed in the game. But also, the thing I meant to say to you was, God, you sometimes have to be lucky. He was about to take off Ollie Watkins, put John Duran on just before Watkins scored. If he could have got him on, he said after, if I could have got him on, I would have got him on. Who knows if Duran comes on if he gets a goal? He doesn't come on, Watkins scores, 10 minutes later he throws Duran on and everything, they get the point. So you sometimes need a little bit of luck. Maybe Arsenal say they're not quite getting the luck with the injuries and the way things are going. But
the player I'd mentioned, looking at my team sheet here, my game sheet from today, from the Villa game yesterday, is Yuri Tielemans. His numbers aren't amazing. No. I know he's got his goals, so he's certainly front and centre of my thinking. But he's a good player, by the way. That's a good pickup from Leicester City.
I've always
he can play. He can play a little bit. And again, what he isn't good at is charging back and being defensively strong as anything. Though he's done better at that.
Yeah, more.
But they've got a little role for him in the number 10. And they have done that. He's done that. Yeah, but he's playing a little higher up.
Yeah.
And the modern day number 10s,
correct.
And that's actually quite a story. There's a couple of them we're going to talk about later in the show. But they've got to get in the box and score goals. Yeah. And I think Tielemans deserves a little mention. But no, it's a good comeback from Villa, but a frustrating day for Arsenal, Rob, because after that game during the week against Tottenham, it was such a feel-good factor, and they went again, which I thought would be really difficult.
Well,
and
it was also that and we'll get to Liverpool, but Liverpool looked like they were going to drop points, then end up winning. Arsenal end up dropping points, and now the gap gets a little bit bigger. But they've got to hang in there, Rob. They've got to keep going. They've got to keep winning games and let's see what happens. Yep. Let's go to Goodison Park, today's game, because it was an interesting game. We obviously set this up early from the morning. So it's an Everton team that don't score goals. Calvert-Lewin, no goals in 16. In 9 of the last 11 Premier League goals, Everton haven't scored. Against perennial scorers in Tottenham, 45 goals. Only Liverpool has scored more. So we know Tottenham can attack. Could Tottenham defend against this Everton attack that was pretty poor, that wasn't potent at all. And we end up, Rob, with an incredible game. We end up a 3-0 scoreline at half-time. Absolutely only one team in it. I mean, shambles might be too strong, but disjointed, just no structure, no shape or joined up thinking about Spurs. They were a little better second half, but they had to be, and I think, like anything, Everton dropped off and were, trying to control. Give me some of your headlines, Rob, of... I suppose Spurs is a story. We have to start with Spurs. We'll give Everton a bit of love after, and David Moyes and how he loosened things up a bit more attacking. But Spurs was one of the big stories of this weekend, and Ange Postecoglu.
Just back on the first half, my word I wrote down for them, for their first half performance was nothing. like nothing. There's nothing. When I start to get lost on this is when the strong part of Ange's philosophy and his team and the attacking play and the control and the possession and the clever fullbacks and all that stuff that I've enjoyed over the last year and a half.
Well, you all enjoy, Rob. If you love football, you've got to enjoy that.
Yeah, but over recent weeks, and I've got to say probably a couple of months, that's going away as well. And today was another example of they're not even doing the football well. As if the confidence is shot out of them. It looks very individual. Yeah. It doesn't look like a team with any synergy playing together. Of course, on top of how fragile they are defensively. Yeah. To give up 3 goals to Everton, that's a headline half-time score.
No one else does that, do they? No. Everton have got 3 goals in 45 minutes.
They have not suddenly got miles better.
They got 5. I think they had 5 goals since the beginning of November. Yeah. They get 3 in 45 minutes.
So it all goes back to the manager. The manager's under pressure right now, Ange Postecoglu, Rob. And, I've been really up at the start. Yeah. I kind of kept fighting the case.
You were conflicted before the game,
a little bit conflicted today because I've seen this coming a little bit.
Yeah, but was that one of the let me see more. What he does today? Yeah, you're going to Everton, Rob, who are defensively well set up and structured. David Moyes' team. I feel going there, Rob. You've got to with not your best 11, and we know that. Solanke was injured. And Brennan Johnson, and so that's 14 goals at the top end of your pitch. More injuries that we'll come to. But let's just say, we know the challenge. I've been saying for a while and keep saying, I love Ange Ball. I love watching it as a viewer of English football because I think it brings something. I think at its best with his best 11, it's a test and can challenge the best in the league. But outside of that, Rob, when things are not right, when he hasn't got his best 11, he needs to adapt things. And I said, and I said, and it's quite something. I said, he's not setting his team up for success by doing it. And I have to go to Archie Gray, the young 18-year-old Championship player who's playing at centre back. It's not his best position. He can play right back, he can play central midfield, but he's done an admirable job. Him and Dragoshin. He was moved around today, Rob, and put in a position, and the own goal comes in.
A weird formation.
And I'm just saying, that's not. Get some structure, man. Get. If you're going to go 4 or go 5 with some structure that we know. Then when you get the ball, go and do a little bit of stuff, but give us some structure when we haven't got the ball. When it turns over, a little bit. Rob, there is none of that. There is none of that, and it's a problem. Let me also just give you one more, and then I'll let you in. James Maddison has got club-high 8 Premier League goals. On days you would say one of their best players, technically quality. Other days a bit inconsistent thing. James Maddison, I don't know whether James Maddison is part of his best 11 or is he the guy you bring on in the good times. James Maddison.
Would he sit here on this podcast and say, he would say to you, Robbie Earle, you want me to change structure? Yeah. You want me to be stronger? Well, I've taken our most creative player out the side, and I've got others in there to be stronger.
James Maddison.
James Maddison. If he says to you, Robbie, you want me to play James Maddison? Well, you know what? Yeah. I'm trying to make a difference. I'm trying to give us some more structure. I'm trying to get more general players in there, not just the creative ones. Yeah. He's got Pedro Porro in there as a wing back. He had Papsar. He got Bergvall. These are all harder working. Jed Spence are harder working players. Kulusevski's harder worker than Maddison. Yeah. So he's trying to shore up a little bit. By the way, that's only devil's advocate. That's only what he might say if he sat here.
I like the argument. Go on, I'd let you finish.
All I would say, right, back to the bigger picture today is, do you know what my expectation was today into this game, right? My expectation with a normal Spurs, with this team, with these players, with this manager, is that they should go there and have a lot of the ball. In fact, my notes were like, they're going to dominate today. They're going to dominate possession. Just got to be careful with counter-attacks. Be careful.
They should win by an odd goal. What
I think we should be seeing is Spurs knocking the ball around. Okay, there might be a couple of breaks that Everton get in behind because that's the way they do things. They take that little bit of a risk. That should be what we're seeing. Creating stuff. Kulusevski's doing stuff. Getting some crosses in. It was Shuman's son playing up front today. Bergvall's busy with the ball. He's on the ball. He's dictating the plays, running the game. And then they might be vulnerable to an odd attack. That's what I expected the game to look like. It looked nothing like that.
No, it didn't.
The football is not even there. It wasn't just sporadic attacks. No. Everton were looking like they were going to score every single time they got forward. And it goes back to his philosophy and we're trying to play our football. He was really annoyed, which I was surprised at in midweek against Arsenal. The week in midweek,
North London
like
derby.
we did. That's unacceptable. We're too passive. I thought that was not a bad display, given Arsenal's they're at home, they're going for a title.
Yeah, they were short.
That today was unacceptable, and that's where it makes me harder to sort of say to have confidence to stay behind the project. So is that what he's going to do all the time then? What's changing? Because there's injuries that are out for months.
Well, you make a good point, but I
Does he
want to go back
league,
to
Rob?
Madison, because I think
Go on.
he almost signifies.
So what you're saying, there should be a way for him in a team, no matter what.
No, what I'm saying is, in the right team with the right setup, and James Madison should be doing the work and then the creativity, like like Szoboszlai does, like Curtis Jones does, like Kevin De Bruyne
Whose
has
fault
done
is it
for
that he's
years.
not then?
Well, I'm saying
Because Ange basically says he's not doing it. He can't do that.
If he can't do it, sell him. Get him out and get somebody who can. If that's what you're saying, sell him. Because I'm saying to you that if you are not going to have the quality, we don't want them to be I'm not wanting Spurs to be a sit-in, that isn't Spurs, and this isn't what Ange is. But you've got to be two-way players. The top players in this league are two-way players.
Yeah.
And
So he's got to make him do that.
Correct. Kulusevski does it, to be fair.
Yeah, naturally.
Kulusevski's
It's just more natural for him. Isn't
so
it?
James Madison. So my coaching now is okay, James Madison is good quality, can take free kicks, can score goals, can give us assists.
But in this moment, you can't trust him.
So I've got to work on him. I've got to make him mentally stronger, physically stronger. Understand sometimes in games, it's not about James Madison, how good he looks. It's about sitting in and winning some ball and just being, they're going to have their 5 minutes. Now we go again, James. Now you go and play.
Where do we go from here?
That's a big question.
Right, so they're 15th place now. It's shocking where they are right now.
The big question is, and I'm going to ask you, can he turn it around? That's where we are. Can he? Is this reversible?
Well, I think he can. I think he can potentially turn it around when he's got everybody fit, Rob. That's going to be too late, isn't it?
But your notes.
I'm talking about Van de Ven, I'm talking about
but
Romero.
Your notes have told you, even on good days, we're still not 100% sure.
But they were fifth last year.
Yeah, they were fifth.
And that's what keeps. It's like,
okay, so I
difficult
get that.
season last year. They played some lovely football, and it wasn't always perfect, but they were fifth.
I think he can turn it. I think he's a smart guy. He can coach. He's got a little bit of lack of respect for the league, where he goes into games thinking I'm going to play, and the opposition are better than they were in Scotland, mate. The forwards are better than they were in some of the leagues you played.
I think that's a really interesting angle. Is like,
to him.
Does he think my football in the past?
Yeah.
I've always stuck with it. It's always found a way to win. I'm not changing anything. And did he coach teams that are kind of dominant?
Yeah,
and this is a little different.
This is
where
different, and you've got to take a little
really
look at it and go, the top teams: Liverpool, Manchester City, Pep, Chelsea, teams all of that to go. Well, hold on a little bit. We'll be different. Bournemouth are a great example. We're going to talk about them. We've got 10 players missing, yet have a security and a system that allows them still to play and score goals. They scored 4 goals this weekend with 10 players missing. So Spurs can do that. Is Ange going to be big enough and bold enough to go, I'm going to change it? Or is it back to that, this is how I am, mate, this is how I play, and this is who we're going to be?
That's a good question. The answer to that right now is that he's not, and he's going to keep doing this thing up to this point. But, I mean, where they are right now in the league table, he's got to be smart enough to realise, if this keeps going, I'm going to get fired. The only thing that might save him is the League Cup. They're in the semi-final of the League Cup. They've won. They beat Liverpool 1-0.
Up. Yeah, they 1 goal up against Liverpool with the second leg
to get to a major cup final.
Yeah.
That he said, like, I always win in my second season.
History tells you Daniel Levy doesn't care about that.
Yeah, I know.
Jose Mourinho was thought serial winner.
And they're not awful in the Europa League.
No, reasonable shape.
So the cup stuff.
I think they've got a couple of Premier League games, Rob, that are going to be key. They've got.
Do you think it's more acute?
They're home to Leicester. They're home to Leicester next weekend. If they don't win that game, if anything but a win at home to Leicester, mate, he's in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, because you start looking over your shoulder at relegation.
Yeah. I mean, Tottenham
they're 8 points clear.
With that stadium, with that group of players, with that cachet.
Yeah, it's underperforming with the players. Even with the ones out, you look at the team, that's underperforming. Being there in the league table is underperforming with that.
When you see Fulham and
everybody,
and
Crystal Palace and everybody,
and Brentford.
Yeah. Yeah, and other teams that have had nightmare seasons are still above them.
Yeah.
West Ham, Manchester United. Yeah, it's coming to a head. It's coming to a head. And I thought he looked today in his interview very down and very kind of forgiving. Like, wow, that was bad.
Yeah.
Like,
well, there was
a little
interesting
embarrassed,
scenes, wasn't it,
maybe.
after the game where I thought he sent the players across in. I thought it was quite embarrassing for the players to have to do it. I get why you do it, and I get that you applauding the
in
fans.
the bad
and
times you want to
let them know that we've let you down. But there was a bit of a stalemate between the fans looking at the players and players looking at the fans, and it wasn't good. And as you say, this is Tottenham Hotspur football.
It's funny,
club.
mate. We're on the edge of it, and Ange brought something. He's bringing something we've never seen before.
No,
we've never seen this,
good for the league.
And but maybe this is why we haven't seen it before, and maybe there's got to be a little bit more pragmatism at times to get a foothold a little bit.
Let's just give Everton a little bit of credit just before me, because David Moyes. Beck asked me really, throws those tough questions. What's the difference between a David Moyes and a Sean Dyche? And I thought for the first 4 to 5 minutes showed me a little bit. There's just a little bit more attention to creativity, a little bit more bodies going forward, a little bit more intent to get goals.
He's got so much experience in terms of the Sean Dyche thing, and he's a course and distance.
Correct.
He's won it. He's done this so many times before,
West Ham,
twice at West Ham, where he's pulled them away from a really bad situation and established themselves, and they go on to do good things. So I thought it was an excellent appointment.
Yeah.
They're not there yet, of course. They've got a little bit of space now. Not a lot of space now when you look at the league table, but that's a big win for them.
Yeah, huge.
That's a big win for them.
Huge,
And Dominic Calvert-Lewin, the way he took his goal.
Yeah,
If you get him scoring a few now, everything
clever
changes
and,
really quickly. Really quickly.
Okay, my friend, let's go to, I know one of the big stories of the weekend. I think you said it's your performance of the weekend.
Oh.
Bournemouth went to St James's Park, and Newcastle team in outstanding form. I think it was 9 straight wins for Newcastle, but it was a Bournemouth team unbeaten, I think, in 9 or 10 themselves. I think it was 9 going into the game. Wow, this didn't turn out as we expected, my friend.
Well, I mean, absolutely not. I mean, I've really enjoyed both of these teams, but I mean, talk about just a flat-out outstanding performance from a visiting team that really, in terms of a modern-day Premier League team like Bournemouth, in terms of if you were to set a philosophy, I'm thinking this myself, like in terms of how you want to play and the energy and the spirit and the structure and nothing tactically genius, there's nothing fancy about it. It's players playing in good little spots with a tremendous work ethic and an aggressive posture. I mean, Andoni, Earle and stuff, I expected a certain type of football. I didn't expect this kind of an old school English kind of mentality of football. So he's got like 11 two-way hard-working players with quality. They're hard-working quality players that he's got now at Bournemouth.
It's the point I was making about James Maddison. Exact point I was making about James Maddison.
If you want to be a top player, it's almost non-negotiable.
What's the difference between a Maddison and a Semenyo or one of those? You have to work hard, and you get James Maddison. I feel like it's a good time, but that's going back to that.
Yeah, and just with Bournemouth right now and how they're playing, I want to chuck in my underappreciated performance, and maybe it's an easy one. Justin Kluivert, Rob. Justin Kluivert. Now underappreciated in many ways because his dad, Patrick Kluivert, was a legendary, incredible, talented footballer.
Be the son of that.
There isn't many times, Rob, where the son can come out of the shadow and really flourish and be a star. He's doing it right now, and he didn't at the start, by the way. This has kind of been a slow burner, back to the manager and making players better. But and I said earlier in the podcast, modern day number 10. That's what he is. He's a number 10, but he is not a just give me the ball, I'm going to look good, I can dink it and play these clever little balls and through balls and then sit on my backside and watch the game go with that possession. He presses as much as the number 9. He gets in that slot. So the hard-working part is part one of modern day's number 10. And the other part of it is a goal scorer. Often these players are, they don't get themselves in the box. His finishing, goals. I mean, he looks a confident finisher on both sides. He's got a ton of penalties in his numbers. 6. But I just think, of all the star players and all the big teams, this isn't a star team. And he's not really a star player, but he's having a breakout season. I think Justin Kluivert deserves a mention, underappreciated performer. And let's all watch for his performances, Rob, and not just with the ball, but without the ball. And how many times does that team win the ball, front foot, pressing? No, we're going to stay on, we're going to win it, we're going to win it again, and the goals are coming from that.
It's textbook coaching, it's textbook modern football, Rob. There's no Unal at the moment, there's no Evan Nielsen, so there was 2 strikers. Ouattara starts up front.
Who's not a striker, who's just not a striker.
They're so well coached that they're more interchangeable. Clavitt could play in the 9 if you want. Semenyo can come in here. Tavernier, Brooks is playing on the left at the moment. Just too much for Newcastle, which I was blown away how good they were and dominated. Didn't allow Newcastle to go. They did to Newcastle what Newcastle do to others at their best when they play with that intensity.
To go there and to high press and to, do you think Newcastle had a little bit of swagger? We're at St James's, we're flying with nine games on
I'd listened to Eddie Howe's presser before, and he was like, we're humble, we're not getting too carried away. So, I mean, it's different for the manager to say it than sometimes
the players gets
in your head a little bit.
I think they were surprised. They were surprised.
And by the time they'd woken up, it was done and dusted. But yeah,
that's some win.
It's incredible win in the form and in the manner that it was done. And Earle, Rob, unfortunately, is going to be one of those that if this continues, like the Brighton, Potters and Deserves now, people are going to be looking. People are going to be looking, mate.
Have we seen enough now? Is this one of them where it might be a little bit early?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's too early or not. I mean, for what he's doing now and the way that he plays.
With players to come back and supposedly get stronger and better.
Do we just give a quick shout out to Bill Foley, by the way?
Bill Foley, yeah.
American owner that went into that football club, Rob, when they were massively struggling.
Remember the very first interview he gave?
I do.
He said, we're staying up.
And they were like...
Gary O'Neill.
Were they in the bottom 3 or very close to it? So I guarantee we're staying up.
Like,
and then we were like, really?
Bill, this is Premier League.
Oh, he did it?
Yeah.
He did it.
And apparently...
He's spending money.
Training ground, apparently complex is being completed. Talking about a new stadium where they can get almost double the number of people in the place. He's talked about, Rob, and said he wants European football.
He has talked about that, yeah.
European football at Bournemouth.
And there's sometimes where decisions are made where I'm like, I just don't get that. Gary O'Neill getting fired. It was in the summer. I remember thinking, I think I spat my tea. I was like, what? Why? He's did an amazing job there.
Yeah.
And they made this change and... What a good change that's been.
Just in closing, because we talked about Earle, and it's not disrespectful. I hope it doesn't come across disrespectful to the Bournemouth fans who like, I our manager, why they're talking he's going bigger. With an owner like that, with the ambitions of a club like he's got, with maybe having a little bit more power and being able to have a little more say in the football club, might Earle just go, I like this. This is for me. Do you know what I mean? If I can... sort of attain my ambitions at this football club.
And that's the bit I don't know. It's hard to know what his ambitions, how ambitious he is.
Well, he looks happy it's a great part of the world to live.
Did I read something, Rob, that he said something like, it's not my be-all and end-all being a football manager?
Yeah, and he apparently only signed small contracts, and he said, I won't be, like, he's not going to be one of those at 60, 70 years of age.
Yeah, something like that, he said, yeah.
But I'll tell you what, you've got a project like that, Rob, you've got a good owner, you've got good recruitment, you've got a great set of players. Sometimes it's just...
But reality is... most managers will be looking up in the sides of clubs and...
He's different, he's not most managers, and at the moment he's doing a great job.
He's doing an amazing job.
OK, my friends, big storylines. Big storylines. Let's go to Old Trafford.
Oh, boy.
Let's go to Manchester United, who got a 3-1 win against Southampton midweek, when for large portions of the game outplayed. Amad Diallo come up with incredible performance, 3 goals, gets us 3 points, everybody's happy, big smiles. They played Brighton at home. I think we were looking at this game, and one of my notes on this game was, I fancy Brighton to go and win at Old Trafford. Yeah. So I wasn't that surprised by the scoreline. I think I'm being a bit more surprised by the reaction after the scoreline to the manager, and we'll talk about, but Manchester United at the moment, Rob, are just not very good football team. Yeah,
and I think the realisation, and I know we've said this before, Rob, right? We've said this before about Manchester United, that they're this and they're that, and this isn't very good, and this manager this and this player that. But I didn't really have the full expectation of actually how bad or average they really, really are. They really, really are. There's not many good players in the team. Good teams and great teams, I always feel, are built with stars, like that are proper make you good. We had some stars in our team. I knew I wasn't one of them, but I was a guy in the background that did all right.
Right?
I did all right. I did all right. Man United have got no stars, and they've got quite a few that do all right.
Yeah.
They've got quite a few that do all right. Now, when you're at Manchester United, there's got to be better than average players in the squad, and that's what it looks like right now. I'm kind of shocked, and let's get to his comments, Rob, what he said after.
Well, he's come after, and I mean, the headline comment, it'll be all over the news, is maybe, so he took to maybe in, which I thought was very clever. Maybe, it's the worst Manchester United team in history. I mean, wow. So by the way,
we had some data and facts up there on a graphic.
Yeah. That said,
they lost 6 of the first 12 games.
12 games at home.
I mean, 1893.
Yeah, Newton Heath. They weren't even Manchester United back in the day. So, like, over time, hundreds of years has shown that this team, in terms of results at home, is as bad as it's ever been.
I'm going to go straight to you, Rob. Is that okay to say that?
Yeah.
I know we all like a manager being honest, right, and open.
Yeah.
I mean, what does that make the dressing room feel like?
Well, I was okay with it. 1, I think he's a good communicator. 2, I think he knows exactly what he's doing. By the way, he hasn't said those things, and look what's happening. So guess what? Let me just tell a few people at home too, because a few might be living on, I'm a Manchester United player.
Is that what you're saying?
And I'm a Manchester United player. And a few maybe think they are stars. A few maybe think, look, Rasmus Højlund, Rob, has so disappointed me in recent weeks.
Yeah, me too.
Because I think he's talented, I think he's got potential.
Has he?
He's got pace.
Is he, though?
But he ain't the star. And by the way, he needs to work at his craft. And so maybe it was one of those, like, I'm just going to let you know that, by the way, you're not, this guy had a team at Sporting who probably not as big a high profile, certainly not earning the kind of money, but probably better players. So I think I think it's a message to upstairs. I think it's a message to the ownership group and to Jim Ratcliffe, who's looking after the football, that I'm an ambitious young manager, and this group of players ain't good enough. So you're going to have to ship some of these out, and we're going to have to build this whole thing again.
It is remarkable, because to rebuild something like this with the PSR situation is not going to be easy.
No, and it's going to take time. And he's going to I think it's Pot saying, like, you're going to have to give me the time, we're going to do this. If not, you know what? Maybe it's for somebody else.
I think right now they're an average squad, very average squad, playing in a way, right? And this is important too. It doesn't suit them.
No, it doesn't suit them.
And I don't have a huge problem with that short term, because he knows his tried and tested system inside and out, and he knows how that works in different games, different scenarios.
But just as a group, Rob, go back to that, because it's an important point. Of the group, how many fit?
Well, I think the central defenders.
But they're not good enough.
Well, that's different, isn't it? All right, but I think they're okay in the system. It's the wing backs, isn't it? It's the wing backs that they're very, very short. The midfield players, Mainu and Ugarte, all right. They're all right.
We say Man United okay, but
Man United okay. So then back to the same kind of average players, and then I think Ahmad's the potential star player, right? He's a potential star. Not yet. He's not the stardust right now. Potentially, but again, not there yet. And back to your point, maybe he's like, listen, everybody, just so you know, this might be the worst ever team. So just go home and think about that tonight when you're out in your doing what you're doing and stuff. So, what would worry me if I was a Man United fan is, wow, there's a lot of work here. There's a lot of players
ton
needed.
Of work.
Even the recent bunch of signings, Rob, that we all thought, oh, that sounds okay. Matthias de Ligt and Mazraoui, Yoro was meant to be a star player. And done amazing. This Premier League is so good, is so demanding, and there's so many good players and good teams that you got to get your recruitment right. Because if you don't, it's gonna stick out like a sore thumb. And United just look very average
against a Brighton team that hasn't been in great form with Herzl. Good win, finding themselves, starting to get into bit form. How about this, though, Mustoe? How about this? So we see Brighton. We know we've had Graham Barber on the show. We understand the setup. An incredible...
Paul Barber.
We've got an incredible selection process, recruitment process, people out there, network.
Yeah.
How about Manchester United deciding to invest $10 million in building a full scale? So it's great for Amorim, but it's going to be there for the next 20, 30 years. Because, by the way, recruitment. The problem with Manchester United is the players that they're buying are not good enough to do what's required. So you spend all this money. Brighton go to that. There's 5 players probably at Brighton who could play in the Manchester United team and do better.
Yeah.
So recruitment is the key.
It is the key.
So why not look at what Brighton are doing? Surely.
Well, you're saying invest into a system.
Go and find a system, go and find a network, put everything together, spend 20
It's not easy.
It's not easy, because if it was easy, everybody do. But what I'm saying is, what we've seen, like you've just said, they bought these players and they don't look great. We rarely say that with Brighton. We don't go, Brighton buy a player, we go, he's going to go for 50, 60 million.
Is it part of the expectation of Manchester United, Rob?
Part of, and the standards
the standards required.
might be slightly
Nothing's
higher.
been good enough since Sir Alex Ferguson's gone.
No,
Nothing's been good enough. They've won trophies. They finished second in the league table, Rob. And still, we all moan about Manchester United.
Old, they're cranky. They're not new, mobile like the new clubs who are moving or getting this. Bournemouth recruitment is incredible.
Yeah, but for their expectation level, it works great, and nobody expects stuff of them when they do amazing things. But Man United
expected for their expectation. Caicedo comes in at Brighton. He goes to Chelsea. He's going to be a key man for Chelsea for the next 10 years. So Manchester United should be able to attract these players more than these other clubs if they're out in the market doing the same thing. But to me, it feels like the recruitment is miles behind.
Well, you pay.
Correct.
When you bring in bad players, you pay, not just at the time, you pay for a number of seasons. The money you spent on Anthony, that's real money. That's real money they spent. They get nothing.
Mason Mount.
Casemiro was 60, 70 million pounds. And you get nothing back for him. That affects things. If you make a bunch of good signings, and this is what's probably happening at Chelsea, they spent a lot of money, but they're good. Yeah, and they're going to be good for a long period of time. Yeah. And that's what made Chelsea successful in the past. They bought good players that are there at the right age, and they enjoy them for a decade. Man United have got to find some talent. They've got to get some players that are better in the system. They need a dedicated left wing back and a right wing back, and then we'll take a view on it. Because there's lots of other parts of the team needed. But those 2 players, that could change a lot if they find a couple of good ones.
Is he the kind of guy you think, Rob, who could... This ain't like
I don't
too
think
much
so.
him.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
He's a stayer.
The biggest issue, the biggest problem will be, hang on a minute, we've got different managers. We're worse.
Yeah, well, that's what he said, didn't he? Yeah.
And we've lost
more games than the guy before me. Like he said it, with a smile on his face.
So, we laugh about it, but if this keeps going, and they finish...
There's always
30,
those, percentages, isn't there? At Ten Hag percentage and Amorim percentage, and, he's actually worse.
Of course, they've got plenty of time, which is rightly so. But I'm telling you right now, if we're sat here, Rob, in a year's time, and they made a few signings in the summer, and they get a couple in January, they get a few in the summer, and it's still a bit of a struggle, and they're sort of mid-table, bottom half, they're looking for somebody else. Yeah. They just are. And there's got to be, at some point, there's got to be like, here we go a little bit. And I'll be honest with you, I just thought by now we would have seen something that's better. And we've had a couple of flickers.
Yeah.
The games, the big high-profile games.
When they've raised... But that was Manchester United a little bit in the past. They've done it under Ten Hag. They did it under Earle. Those big games every now and then.
Get up for that, and that's easier than
find a way.
Southampton. Yeah, so... Yeah, we'll see. He's got to start getting a little bit of improvement, Rob.
Yeah.
Or people are going to start talking. Yeah. Crazy as it seems.
Okay, my friend, let's go to the G-Tech. The storyline here was Liverpool were being held 0-0 by Brentford for a long period of the game, and then was ever he makes his substitutes on the slot, not just Darwin Núñez, but I think.
Harvey Elliott came
on, 2 or 3 others, I think, came
Federico
on.
Chiesa came on.
Chiesa. Changed it up. Anyway, the point being, Núñez ends up getting a couple of goals in 90+1, 90+3. They end up winning the game 2-0 from looking like they were going to drop points, and this was before the Arsenal game. Liverpool get the job done. And as Beck said, sometimes during campaigns you feel like that was a big day, that was a big moment. It felt that way, didn't it?
Aren't we seeing this? We've seen this with other teams in other seasons where, however they do it, it just gets done.
Correct.
Somebody smacks the ball. Remember Vincent Kompany smacks the ball on the roof of the net. Somebody steps up or scores something
Leicester
remarkable.
had a couple of days when
remember they beat Man City that time where he goes through. There's a few kind of, and Liverpool at the moment are finding ways, aren't they? And it's not perfect, but it looks a lot better than other teams, and they've got a squad. They've got options. Jota was last time, wasn't it? Comes off the bench, scores a goal with his first touch. Núñez comes on, scores 2 goals. Whatever he's doing, for the 95% of the time, it's kind of working out. And Darwin Núñez is interesting, Rob, isn't it? And his future. I like his attitude at the moment. I like that he's fighting. I like that he's on there and he's trying to run his socks off a little bit to try and find some form. But
I'm
they got
going to
good
stop
options.
you there, my friend, because he's my underappreciated performer of the week is Darwin Núñez.
Oh, Darwin. Okay.
Who, like you say, I think people have felt like he's not really offering too much to the team.
Slot's underestimated him?
It looks a little bit to the side, yeah. But it was interesting. The Slot, I think, before the game, it said Darwin Núñez still has a role to play, and then they rehashed that after the game and said absolutely. I thought it was important that he scored, Rob. The 2 goals. I thought the celebration with the fans, with his teammates, with the manager after the game. Darwin Núñez could have an important role to play for Liverpool. Why do I say that? Liverpool are still in cup competitions, Champions League and Premier League. There's going to be a lot of football down the track.
I agree with that.
If there's certain games you can go Darwin Núñez, I trust you. You're still going to have the goal threat. Go and play up front. I can rest maybe Mo Wonder. I can rest Jota. I can rest Gakpo. It might not be that he's in their best team and the biggest games.
Isn't that a problem?
Is that?
Isn't that? Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like his role is going to be an important role. I agree with you, but it's going to be off the bench.
Well, if it is off the bench,
is he going to be? Is he at any point this season going to be the main man that's going to get a run of 6, 7, 8 games?
He doesn't have to be the main man.
Is he going to be okay with that?
Alvarez was at Manchester City, not the main man, but came on.
But he wanted to leave.
Eventually, he wanted to leave, and I'm not saying that eventually Darwin Núñez might want to leave. But for this season of what's required and what's
keep him on board.
Keep him on board because you've got a striker who can have his days. He has his moments. He can score gluts of goals, and he can catch on fire. He can catch on fire, mate. Where Arsenal don't have that luxury. You know, a lot of teams don't have that luxury of going, I've got one of them. Okay, in you come. Away you go. And so I just think he's a little underappreciated, possibly by the manager, possibly by fans, probably by certainly some of the media. Delight to see his 2 goals and just feel like he might have a role to play in success story for Liverpool.
Yeah, but so what they know, they're 6 points clear, Liverpool.
Yeah,
from
with
Arsenal,
a game in hand.
and a game in hand. Nottingham Forest are just below Arsenal.
It's the
3
game
points
coming
lower.
up as well, isn't it? The derby's in a few weeks.
Is it a rearranged game, isn't it?
In February.
Yeah.
So that could be.
Still looking good. What else we got?
We've got Ipswich 0, Manchester City 6. As probably as well one-way traffic as you could admit. I mean, it took 24 minutes for Foden to get his first goal, but he's banging for him now. 6 goals in his last 6 Premier League games. Looks a bit more. They were perfect opposition today, Ipswich actually. Got numbers back behind the ball, but didn't really close the ball. Jeremy Doku, I thought, had a really good game today, creating things. You know, De Bruyne looks better. It felt and looked like
the
City that we're used to seeing, that dominate games, that had really no drama. I thought you made a good point about Ipswich. It's a hard day to criticise a lot of players who didn't play there. I thought there was one thing that stood out to me, and I didn't get a chance to say it. It was like 6-0, or it was 5-0 for a period. Like, Ipswich fans weren't leaving. There's a modern thing now, isn't there? You see, Southampton and other teams, like half the people are streaming out at 3 or 4-0. It was 6-0, right?
It's just, but what they've been through and where they've been. I just looked at the fan today, and there was so much clapping and cheering and appreciating the Ipswich team after they got thumped 6-0. Yeah. And it was just one of those for us. Well, for me, I just thought, let's just get a touch here. Yeah. This team. I mean, it's fun to watch Man City. Some of those guys have been in the lower leagues, in League One and third tier of English football. I know, but in general, it's like I think they're like, that's a class team, that, and they've scored some amazing goals. At the end of the game, all right, Ipswich, don't worry about that. We know we're not defined by that game.
But Ipswich have to start taking things more serious, start picking up some points, mate. They've had I thought they've had a decent first half of the season where I think they've earned respect. I think at times they've been unlucky. They've conceded a lot of late goals that have dropped them points. Just feel like, Rob, it's so hard, this league. We've both been there for many years, and you after Christmas sometimes, and you've got through the winter stuff.
It gets really hard.
And it gets hard, mate. It's a slog.
They've won 3 games, Rob, in 23. Ipswich.
You've got to turn some of these performances into wins. You've got enough components, I think, to stay in the league. You've got a centre forward. You've got a bit of shape. You've got a smart manager. You've got a great home.
Debbie did a great job today, the manager.
Yeah, I know you a little bit.
Well,
I think it was one of them, damned if you do, damned if you don't against City. I know play a different system, you could have said, or maybe, with the Johnson switching between wing back
it looked a little awkward, and it was very standoffish and protective.
Yeah.
And I understand why, but just if you stand off and protect defensively, they got so much space. They just bump like Kovacic's goal, extra man in there. I don't know, but it's not a day to be too critical to Ipswich. You're right, though. They got to try and find a way. They spent money.
Yeah.
They've done everything right, really.
Yeah,
it just shows the jump up from the Championship to the Premier League.
Yeah.
And maybe today again against Man City is a difficult comparison.
I thought Graham made a really good comment towards the end of the game when he said, you know what, with Ipswich, as long as they continue to be competitive and trying, he said, if they go down and you're not being good enough, but you've given it a good go, that's kind of okay, and you come again. So when you go down and you haven't really given it a good go, and he said, so far, I think Ipswich have been there. Now we have to wait and see what comes.
It is a good comment, and it's an important kind of piece of analysis, really, because when you look at a club that's going down and struggling, you're like, are they better than that?
Yeah.
Or is that all they've got?
Yeah.
And you listen to the manager and what he says and how he sets his team up, and I think, again, like, he's doing everything that I do and expect.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes
this
it's
league's
difficult.
harder, isn't it?
It's
this
very
league's
difficult.
so hard. Okay, mate, we move on quickly to a couple. We've got to pay a little bit of homage to Nottingham Forest, because this is becoming a story, my friend. Nottingham Forest 3, Southampton 2. Southampton with the late goal through Onuachu late on, but goals from Anderson with a lovely shot, Hudson-Odoi, great finish from about 20 yards, and your Chris Wood goal that you know is coming, 14 for him this season. Badnarik and Onuachu getting a couple of late goals for Southampton, but Forest hung on, another 3 points, stay in the top. What are they? Third in the Premier League. This is a story, mate.
Well,
it's not going away, is it?
No, it's not going away, and I love it. I love it, and it's exciting to watch. And I know that sometimes you think that teams that defend and just counter-attack is a bit, but I think it can be exciting. Particularly got really pacey wingers. Yeah. Elliot Anderson's somebody that should be getting on our underappreciated list. Let's keep an eye on him because he's a really, really good player. Newcastle United did not want to sell him.
It was PSL.
They had to get for the financial rules. Yeah. He got his goal today, and the goals kind of look similar, and they're powerful and they're quick. And Milenkovic and Murillo are excellent defenders. Aina's having one of his best seasons, I think, at right back. Lovely. Nico Williams, who can play both sides, is doing great. You've got a couple of steady eddies. One of them got a goal today. They're a good story. And when you watch their goals, we have the big screen. We can see all the goals going in at the same time. And they all look the same.
There's a Forest style of goals. And do you know what, with them, Rob, and I said earlier, it feels like a good fit, the way they play. Everybody's in the role. It's not like the Man United where it doesn't quite look right, or Spurs in like, it doesn't fit. It fits the team. He's got them playing well. They understand they've had the least amount of possession in the league. Okay with that, because when they break, and it's good football when they break. It's not break, long ball over the top spine.
No,
they
it's kind of silky.
Things.
It's kind of fast and exciting to
nice
watch.
Football.
Nuno is brilliant.
Well,
brilliant.
And do you know what's helping them, Rob, in some respects, is like there's lots of big stories everywhere. There's Spurs, there's Man United, there's Newcastle, there's Man City.
So
there's lots of other stories. So they're under the radar, and they're ticking along nicely. And people like us, they're not going, Notts Forest are in the title race. They kind of are.
Right, let's chuck some percentages in, right? I think they kind of are. That's a small number in terms of percentages, but they're in that.
Yeah.
But in terms of a top four, the end of the season, the percentage chance of them finishing in the top four. Let's just think about that for a few seconds.
Yeah.
So the
they're
percentage
44 points now, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean you got Man City are out of the top four. No, this table's wrong, isn't it? This table's wrong.
Yeah, it's an
We've got
old
the wrong table
here. They're
but we can
fourth.
still,
Man City fourth.
Right, so we can still give a percentage chance for they're third, aren't they? So Forest are third, City are fourth, I believe.
Yeah.
Would you give them a 30% chance of making top four? Over or under on that?
Where are we now? 22 games, 16 games.
So you assume that City, so they've still got to get caught by Chelsea or Villa or Newcastle?
Top four, yeah.
More than 30%?
I go more right now, more than 30.
Yeah, which would be incredible.
Sure.
That football club to be playing in the Champions League.
In Europe.
I mean, that'd be absolutely crazy.
That's dream stuff.
We'll see. Okay, last few results here. Rob will spin through here.
Yeah.
West Ham United. That was hard. That was a tough watch. That Graham Potter is. I've enjoyed that appointment, but my goodness, again, realization that, wow, that's a big job, and that's going to be difficult, and that's going to take time to turn around.
But they've got good enough players, Rob, haven't they?
We go back to the same. We keep saying that.
Yeah,
but really, are they? There's a couple of star players. I don't think Kudus is playing well. He isn't playing
well. No, he hasn't quite found the fit for him yet.
I think Paquetá's a good player. I think Paquetá is a really good player.
Bowen coming back is important.
Need Bowen to come back.
He's important. important. But yeah, a bit of work for Graham Potter.
Yeah, that's
good
a
win for
reality check.
Crystal Palace, though, mate. They're going in the right direction
Solid.
now. Oliver Glasner,
Yeah.
JP Mateta again coming up with the goals, and the first goal, Saar as it plays in Mateta scores. It's kind of what Palace are about.
Yeah. Good manager.
Much more.
Good manager.
Yeah, absolutely good manager. And Leicester City, 7 straight defeats, mate. 2-0 defeat against Fulham. Emil Smith-Rowe with the first header, and Adama Traore with a lovely control finish. Rude's got it on.
Well,
7 straight defeats. Went to the window. And
I think the numbers, Rebecca said the numbers now are worse now than Steve Cooper.
Whose numbers,
It was a big call to make the change. And Van Nistelrooy was an even bigger call to come in from, Ruud van Nistelrooy. Like, how about here's a bit of relegation? How'd you like that? And it's been difficult.
He's going to have to work that out defensively. Keeps changing things. 1 minute's Fast, 1 minute's Cody, 1 minute's Vestergaard. Can't seem to keep clean sheets and give themselves a chance. All right, mate, we're going to wrap it up here on the weekend that Rebecca Lowe called Storyline Central. There was so many big issues in the Premier League. Liverpool win late. Arsenal allow Villa back into the game. Spurs and Manchester United, they lose badly. And let's not forget Forest, who keep on flying. We'll be back next Sunday. That's January the 26th to recap Matchweek 23. But for now, I'm Earle, he's Mustoe, together with the two Robbies. Thanks for watching and listening. Be safe, stay healthy. It's a good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
Good night.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host of NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And if you want even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock.